Hey everyone, we're back here for part 2 of the masking tutorial. Um, I have the Porsche body here that we did in part 1, where we laid out the 1/4 inch wide stripe. I'm going to go ahead and finish showing you the procedures for taping off on the rest of that, and we're going to spray I got some white in the airbrush. I'm just going to do it here at the bench. The compressor may cut on. It's about 10 feet behind me, so it'll be a little noisy, but not as bad as standing over at the spray booth doing it. So we're just going to do everything right here at the workbench. Once you've got it to this point here, just pretty much want to go in and just tape off to the outside edges of that. And I'm going to use Tamiya masking tape on this. You know, you could use cheaper masking tape. You just got to be careful of, you know, how much adhesive is on it. Which could cause a real problem if you stick it down here and you go to pull it off and it pulls the underlying paint up. You don't want that. So, I mean, you know, it seems like a waste of money and a waste of tape using the more expensive Tamiya, but it's almost foolproof. It's going to give you a better job, and that's why I do it. When I spend a lot of hours in these paint jobs, last thing I want to do is use a tape that I'm not sure of and pull the paint up. Because at that point I have a ruined paint job, because I'm not a person that strips models and starts back over. If my paint job goes bad, it goes in the trash can. So I just got the piece of the wider Tamiya tape here, and you don't want to bring this in and get real close to where your edge of your line is going to be. You want to try to get it back more toward the outside edge of that, so you don't build a thickness up right there. I'm not going to tape this whole body off because this is a scrap body. So I'm not worried about a little bit of overspray getting on other parts of it. And same thing on the other side. Set your tape down and make sure that where this edge overlaps your tape that's already down there, make sure you've got that smoothed down real good. Because if not, your overspray can get right underneath of that edge and still get on the body. So that's what we have for as far as taping off for the stripe. Now, like I say, you would go ahead and you know, use like your masking paper to mask off the rest of the body all the way around, but we're not going to do it in this case. If you're doing doing this stripe on a model that you're going to finish, you definitely want to mask all that off. So, like I say, I've got some white Tamiya acrylic paint in the airbrush. And now that we have that taped, we're going to go ahead and spray that stripe. Let me get everything set here. Alright, and the one procedure that I try to do is you don't really want to aim, and this is with a can or an airbrush, you don't really want to aim your spray at the edge of your tape, especially on the first couple passes. So what I try to do is pretty much shoot parallel with the surface on the first coat that I put on, and that way once you get the first coat down here, that will actually help seal the ends of the tape a little bit. Now, it's not as critical with an airbrush because you're not putting as much paint on, so you're not going to have a lot of bleed under. I've heard of many different ways of sealing tape and burnishing the edges down and doing all this and doing all that, but a lot of that's all unnecessary. It's just the wrong procedures. It's a bunch of false information that's been put out here on these forums and, you know, various places on the internet. But I've got that down, just a light coat on it, and you just want to let that set a little bit, and like I say, that will help seal the edges of your tape if that's what you're worried about. You know, that thing of going in with the body color that you used before, or a clear coat, all you're doing is just adding thickness to your tape, and yeah, you may prevent bleed under. To a certain extent, you may prevent it. If you're using a can, you're still going to have issues with that. But the more that you build this paint up in between these pieces of tape, the more edge that you have to pull loose when you're pulling your tape. And I've seen a lot of people that actually pull the the paint that's on their stripe, they'll pull that out when they pull the masking tape off. That's because their paint thickness is too thick. But now we're going to go back in, and we're just going to finish coloring the stripe in. And like I say, if you're doing this at home, you should be doing this in a spray booth, or somewhere where you have ventilation. I've got the air pressure way down, so overspray is like minimal right now. But definitely take into your health into consideration when you're doing this stuff, especially spraying lacquers or enamels or something. But all we're doing is we're finishing coloring in the white stripe here. And it may seem like I'm putting a lot of paint on this. I'm not. I've got the trigger pulled back a very slight amount. Very, very thin coat. That, and we're trying to hurry it up a little bit so we don't make the video too long. So that actually looks pretty decent. Let me get one more spray down this side of the stripe. Okay, we're going to let that sit just like that. Now, this is something that a lot of people, there's been some controversy over this. I unmask pretty much as soon as I'm done spraying. That will save you a lot of headaches later on down the road with the paint that gets over on your masking tape drying. And when you try to break that bond, that's what gets your edge jagged, and you don't really want that. And so what I do is try to get this masking tape off here as soon as I'm done spraying. So I'm going to pull masking tape off the sides. Get a hold of it here. There we go. We're going to pull that. Okay, now the way you pull that off, that's no big deal. You can, pull that off pretty fast or whichever direction you want to. Now the next part is where you want to be a little bit careful. How you pull your tape off of the edge of your two-tone is very critical to how well that your two-tone is going to come out. If you want a very crisp, clean line, you've already started that process with the Tamiya tape. So as you pull this, you want to pull away from your line that you've painted on the model. And you want to pull kind of slowly. You just don't want to pull that off there real fast, because then you take a chance of creating a jagged edge, and we don't want that. And same thing on this over here, just kind of pull away. And you'll notice I've got the tape almost laid back on top itself. I'm not holding it up here. Keep that tape down low and pull away from your stripe. And there we have it. I'll hold it up here where you can see it. There's the stripe that we just put down the center of the roof. You can see that it does not have any jagged edges. It did not pull the paint up that's underneath. It did not pull the paint up on the stripe. It's very clean, and if you wanted to, you could actually clear coat over top of this and it'd be a finished product. And if you clear coated it, it would actually look like a decal without the carrier film, which is a good thing. But that gives you an idea on how easy this process is to do. It gets a little bit more complicated when you're going over top of ins and outs and like your rivets on your trucks and things like that. But in the next tutorial, we're going to touch on that a little bit. So that's going to be it for this one, and I'll be working on the next one. We'll probably do a little bit of graphics on that one. So I thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.